You've probably heard of neighbors cutting tree branches that hang over a fence. You might have even heard of someone removing a fence entirely. But I bet you have never seen someone slice an entire building in half. My neighbor, the HOA President Linda, decided she needed a new luxury she shed and garage. The only problem was her yard wasn't big enough. So what did she do? She quietly built the structure 2 feet over my property line. When I showed her the survey and warned her, she laughed in my face. She said, "Oh, Alex, it's already built. It's a massive structure with electricity and plumbing. We can't move it now. You'll just have to adjust." She thought I would sue her and spend years in court. But she forgot that I am a structural engineer and I own a construction business. I didn't need a lawyer. I went to the rental shop and got the biggest industrial demolition saw money can buy. And this morning, I solved the problem permanently. My name is Alex. I work in construction and engineering. I deal with blueprints, measurements, and property lines all day long. I know exactly how much an inch matters, let alone 2 feet. I was out of town for 2 weeks managing a project in another state. When I pulled into my driveway, exhausted and wearing my old leather jacket, I noticed a massive change in my backyard. My neighbor Linda, who also happens to be the power-hungry HOA president, had been busy. Attached to the side of her house was a brand new, magnificent structure. It wasn't just a shed, it was a fully finished extension with high-end siding, expensive windows, and a fresh concrete foundation. At first glance, it looked impressive. But then, I noticed something wrong. The angle was off. I walked into my backyard. I dug around in the grass until I found the original iron survey markers, the metal pins buried in the ground that define where my land begins and hers ends. My heart sank. The concrete foundation of Linda's new building didn't just touch the line. It crossed it. The entire back wall of her new garage was sitting 24 inches, 2 feet, inside my property. She had effectively stolen a strip of my land to build her dream room. I couldn't believe the audacity. I knew dealing with Linda required hard evidence. The next morning, I hired a licensed land surveyor. He came out with GPS equipment and lasers. He confirmed it immediately. The garage was encroaching. He spray-painted a bright neon orange line on the ground. That line went right into the side of her garage, across the floor, and out the other side. I took the certified report and walked over to Linda. She was inside her new open garage, polishing her vintage convertible. "Linda, we need to talk," I said calmly. "Your new garage is built on my property." She looked up and rolled her eyes. "Oh, Alex, here we go again. You always make a big deal out of nothing." I held up the map and pointed to the bright orange line on the ground. "This isn't nothing. This is encroachment. You built on my land. You need to remove this portion." She laughed. It was a laugh full of entitlement. "Remove it?" She pointed at the roof. "Alex, be realistic. This is a finished building. It has electrical wiring, insulation, and stucco. I spent $80,000 on this addition. It's done. We can't remove it. It's physically impossible. You just have to accept that this is part of my house now." She thought that was the end of it. She thought that by saying, "It's impossible," she had won the argument. But for me, impossible is just an engineering challenge. I didn't argue further. I walked back to my house and opened my laptop. Linda said we couldn't remove it because it was a whole building. Fine. If I couldn't remove the whole building, I would just remove the part that was mine. I called my industrial supplier. "I need a saw," I said. "No, not for wood. I need something that cuts through concrete, steel, wood, and stucco like butter. I need a gas-powered demolition cut-off saw with a 14-inch diamond blade." Saturday morning arrived. I walked into my backyard carrying the massive saw. It looked like a weapon from a sci-fi movie. I put on my safety goggles, heavy gloves, and ear protection. I measured one last time. I took a red chalk line and snapped it directly over the surveyor's mark. The red line went up the side of her garage wall, across the roof shingles, and down the other side. This was the surgery line. I pulled the cord on the saw. The engine roared to life with a sound like a screaming jet engine. It woke up the entire neighborhood. Linda came running out of her house. "What is that noise? What are you doing?" I yelled over the roar of the engine. "You said we couldn't move it." So I found a solution. "I'm taking my land back." Before she could process what was happening, I sank the spinning diamond blade into the side of her garage. Screech. A massive cloud of dust exploded into the air. The sound of cutting through stucco and wood studs was deafening. I moved slowly, with surgical precision. I followed the red line perfectly. Linda was screaming. She was calling the police. She was trying to yell at me to stop. But I was on my property, cutting my airspace. It was a tough job. I cut the wall. Then I got on a ladder and cut through the roof. Then I cut the back wall. Finally, only the last structural beam was holding it together. I gave the saw one last push. Crack. Boom. The entire back 2-foot section of the garage, the roof, the wall, the insulation, sheared off and collapsed onto my lawn in a pile of rubble. The view was incredible. Linda's beautiful luxury garage was now open air. It looked like a dollhouse that had been sliced open. You could see the back bumper of her vintage car, her tool chest, and her expensive wallpaper, all exposed to the wind and sun. Linda fell to her knees next to the rubble, sobbing. The police arrived minutes later. Linda screamed at them that I had vandalized her home. I calmly showed the officer my deed, the survey report, and the orange line. "Officer," I said, "I didn't cut a single inch past my property line. Everything on the ground there was on my land." The officer looked at the cut building. He looked at the survey. He adjusted his hat and turned to Linda. "Ma'am, this appears to be a civil dispute. And technically, this man is standing on his own land. We can't arrest him for cleaning up his own backyard." The conclusion: Linda had to rush to buy massive plastic tarps to cover her open garage before it rained. She now has to pay a contractor thousands of dollars to build a new back wall, and her garage is now too short to fit her car. She has to park it in the driveway. I cleared the rubble, and now I'm building a nice, tall privacy fence right on the property line. Linda learned a valuable lesson. When you encroach on an engineer's land, he doesn't adjust, he restructures. If you love this sawed-off revenge, smash that like button, don't saw it. And make sure to subscribe, because in the next video, we are exposing a neighbor who tried to sue me for grilling steaks.